In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front lower ball joints on this Ford Escape. Let's get into it. We're going to remove the lug nuts, use a 19mm socket. And remove the wheel. Remove this bolt for the bracket for the brake hose. Use an 8mm socket. Slide the hose off. And using an 18mm socket, we're going to take the two caliper bracket bolts out. Two bolts. I'm going to take the caliper off using a brake caliper hanger. Just going to hang it from the bracket back here. Just make sure there's no tension on the brake hose and it's out of the way. Now we'll pull the rotor off. If it's stuck, you want to just hammer in those locations. Just be careful of the studs. Just slide it off. Remove the axle nut. Use a 32mm socket. Make sure the axle is separated from the hub. If you need to, you can use a punch and just hit it with a hammer. Try to get that to break free. Using a 15mm socket, take the tie rod nut off. Now we're going to separate the tie rod from the knuckle. There's different front end tools that you can use. And just separate that. And pop that off. Remove the lower ball joint nut and bolt. I'm going to use a 15mm wrench on the bolt, 18mm socket. Take that nut off, slide that bolt out. If you have to, use a hammer and a punch. Get that out. Now I'm just going to grab the lower control arm, slide that down. You can pull the axle out as well. Just set that to the side. Now we're going to move the axle out of the way. I'm just going to use a bungee cord, attach it to the strut, or the spring, the coil spring. It's out of the way. If you need to, you can move the caliper up as well. Tie that out of the way. That's good. Now we're going to cut these rivets out. I'm going to use a combination of a cutoff wheel to slice through them, and then we're going to use an air hammer and chisel them off. Just to prevent some of the metal going into the back side of the wheel bearing where the reluctor wheel is. We don't want to damage that. I'm just going to put a piece of cardboard just to keep that away, just like that. That's good. Now I'm switching to the air chisel. Just chisel these off. There we go. And then we're going to push the rivets through. There we go, that one popped out. That one popped out. Just get the last one out. There we go. They all popped out. I'll just take a hammer. Just tap it out. There we go. There it is. Take the new ball joint, just tap it in place so the holes line up. Take the bolts, Slide those through. And on the bottom side, we have the washers and the nuts. Get those started. Using a 17mm wrench and a 17mm socket, we'll snug these down. Now we're going to torque these to 45 foot-pounds. That's good. I'm just going to take the caliper and just move that so that's out of the way. Push that down. We can take the bungee cord off the axle. Now slide the axle into the hub. Might have to twist it a little bit. Get that started. All right, that's good. Pull the control arm down. Get the ball joint lined up. That's in place. If you have to, you can give it a tap with a hammer. Take the bolt, slide it through. If you have to, give it a tap. Put the nut on. And we'll just tighten this down. And twist it, make it easier. There we go. Before we torque this, we're going to reattach the tie rod. Slide the tie rod into the knuckle. Put the nut on. Tighten this down. We're going to torque this nut to 35 foot-pounds. That's good. Now we're going to torque the lower ball joint bolt to 61 foot-pounds. That's good. Put the axle nut on. Snug that down. Just going to loosen it slightly. Then we're going to torque it. I'm just going to take a pry bar, go in between the studs so the hub doesn't spin. And we'll torque the nut to 59 foot-pounds. That's good. Then you want to go an additional 90 degrees. If you don't have a torque angle meter, take a crayon and just mark out 90 degrees and just tighten it to get to that line. That's good. Take the rotor, slide that over the hub. Take the brake caliper, take the hanger off, slide that over the rotor. Take the bolts, get the bolts started. Now we'll torque those to 129 foot-pounds. I'm going to take the hose, line the bracket up, get the bolt started, and snug that down. That's good. Now install the wheel. Put the lug nuts on. Tighten those down. Now we'll torque the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Go around again, double check.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. the only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.